Hey guys, so today we're going to do a video that I just typically haven't had the chance to do in the past, which is now that we know Ultra Cell is coming, we can do a video talking about certain things that I would actually want to see from the character, right? I mean, we typically don't have a full week in advance to speculate about characters because we get the announcement for the characters, we get the kit reveals at the same time as they drop, or as they are announced, and then they drop like a few hours later. So us now having a full week in advance knowledge that the character's coming, we actually can sort of theory craft and talk about what sort of things we'd want to see from the character. I am recording this the same day that his announcement was out, so I don't know. This will probably drop like a day or two after I record this, but I'm not exactly sure when they're going to reveal his kit. I mean, they might as well just do it now. Why not just release his kit unless they're making some last minute adjustments? But let's take a look here, and we'll talk about some things that I would want to see from Cell and maybe some speculation here. So we, of course, this is the Cell that we're getting, right? If you take a look at the art of the character that they showed, the ink brush art, it is Cell death beaming Trunks. So we know that it's going to be perfect Cell, right? There's two versions of, I guess, final form Cell, if you want to call it that. We have the Cell page here. We have perfect form Cell, which is before he self-destructs. And then we have perfect Cell, which is after he self-destructs and essentially powers up after Goku dies, right? This is going to be perfect Cell. It's not really a huge difference, but I think it could matter in terms of like the types of animations we see with the character, because both perfect form Cell and perfect Cell both have the same amount of tags, so it doesn't really make a difference there, but yeah. So in terms of teams, this is one of the bigger deals for this character, as he actually is on a lot of different teams. Androids is probably going to be a real team. Future, certainly a real team. Regen is probably after the Cell. I mean, they could be an okay team. And then Powerful Opponent should be pretty solid after this as well. So he's on like 4 actual teams. Cell characters are just typically on like the most teams. It's like Cell and then like Zamasu characters are on like the most teams. So this guy dropping not only is going to be effective on, you know, like Future and Android, but Regen gets more buff soon, and then Powerful Opponent, of course. So actually going to be, I think, a pretty valuable character to have. The ability to run multiple different setups and different teams, I think, is going to be pretty interesting. Okay, so I think we could start by just talking about the typing for this character, and I think this is what most people are probably interested in, at least for the start here. This is tough. I have been thinking about this, and I actually am not sure what I think his typing is going to be. I think the best way to do this is typically I like to look at the different tags the character is on, and then find a commonality between what are the weaker typings between all the tags. So we can start with androids, right? We just got a yellow, and we just got a purple. Now, I don't think this means there's completely no way that he could be yellow or purple, but yeah, so purple, right? We can just start with each color here. Purple, I actually do think 17 is very good. And if I'm running an androids team, 17 is probably going to be one of the main characters I'm actually using. And we did just get another purple character, well, not a new character, but a Zenkai for the LF Perfect Cell. This guy's actually pretty good. So I would say we have 2 pretty usable purple android characters here, the 17 and then the Zenkai for purple Perfect Cell. So do we really need a 3rd usable purple android character? I would probably say no. And also, when we consider the fact that whenever they release new versions of a character, most of the time, this is not true for every single time, but most of the time they do avoid releasing the same typings of the character. Obviously, with like Super Saiyan 3 Goku, they don't do that because we have 3 LF Green Super Saiyan 3 Gokus. But they do that in a lot of instances. Yellow, I actually think there's not a 0% chance he's yellow, but if I actually had to rank all the different colors that I would want him to be, I think yellow would be last, because Majin Vegeta and Beast, the past 2 summonable, the 2 most recent summonable ultras, are both yellow, and they're both still dominating the game. So do I want now to get a 3rd dominant ultra yellow character? No. So I would probably say I don't want a yellow unit. However, the androids team could use a good yellow. I'm not a huge fan of this Android 18. I don't think she's bad, but I just think like when you compare Android 18 to 17, there's a very clear difference in who's better, and it's 17 by like a pretty sizable margin. The next one is blue. Now, blue, I would just say straight up right now, is probably my top candidate for what I would want Cell to be. We are now getting a unique equipment for LF Blue 17. I think the reason why they're doing this, obviously this is kind of a strange drop because we are in the middle of the Cell Saga celebration. So like, why the hell are they dropping a unique equip for Android 17 who's on the Universe Survival Saga? And I think the answer is just because they're setting up a good environment for Cell to drop on an Android team. That's it, because the only team that 17 and Cell are sharing is Androids, right? 17 is only on Universe Rep and Android. That's it. He's not on any other team that he shares with Cell. So the reason why they would do this is just to set up a more favorable environment for Cell to be on the Android team. And that means one of two things. Maybe they want you to run a double blue team with him. And that's, maybe they're going to drop a blue Zenkai buffer finally for this team. Maybe they Zenkai like the blue 13. Where's the blue 13? This guy right here. They could Zenkai this guy and then make him buff blue androids, and that would be like a pretty crazy bench actually if they do that. If they make Ultra Cell blue and then they Zenkai Android 13 maybe next week, or I guess he would Zenkai like the week after or something. Or maybe they even Zenkai him the same day he drops. They've done that before. That could be a pretty crazy setup because that would be the first Zenkai buffer for 17, and then Cell would have access to that, and then you'd have like a purple 17 third option here. The second thing they could be setting up with this is they want to set up Ultra Cell to work well with 17 being blue, and the two colors that work the best with blue are purple and yellow. I don't know. It's tough to really say. If I had to pick, I'd pick blue. But yeah, there's also red. Androids, their only good red character is Super 17, but I actually do think Super 17 is still pretty solid. So I don't know if I'd want to replace him on Androids, considering that I think like, take a look at like the best yellow on this team. I think Super 17 clears Android 18 easily. Take a look at the best, I don't know, the best, I guess, well, the best blue on the team is probably going to be the 17 now, right? But anyway, I don't really know if I'd want to replace 17 here, but I certainly don't think red is off the table. And then green. Green is very, very weak for androids. Who's the best green android? Is it this? It's probably this guy. It's probably the Zenkai First Form Cell, who I don't think is very good, but I mean, he's the best green character on here. I think he's probably better than, is he better than 16? Probably. I think he does way more damage than 16 does, and 16's not a bad unit, but he's now a year old, and even when he dropped, he wasn't really used in standard. He's a good Proud character, but not non-standard. Future, we could sort of take a look at the same colors here. Red, I certainly don't think is needed for Future. Super Trunks is an exceptional red character. Fusion Zamasu, I have various issues with his design, but I think he's still a solid red character for Future. Purple, same thing with 17. Blue, actually, I don't even know if they really need a new blue for this because of Future Gohan and Trunks. But green, I could see them getting a new character because Goku Black, yes, he does have a platinum equipment, and I actually think this Goku Black is pretty solid. But we'll see. I mean, Vegito Blue is still really good too. Yellow, maybe. I mean, I don't really know how much stock they want to put into Goku Black here, but you guys know how I feel about this character. Regen, I feel like you could just kind of do a clean sweep of every single color, maybe besides red because of Fusion Zamasu. This team could use a new blue. This team could use a new purple. This team could use a new green, and this team could use a new yellow. So literally, just drop whatever, bruh. Just drop whatever. For powerful opponent, sort of similar. Like, it's a mixture of all those teams we just talked about. Yellow, we have Goku Black here. Red, we have Fusion Zamasu. Green, we have Rose. Purple, we have 17. And then blue on this team, we have Turles. So I don't know if they're going to do that, but it's tough to really say. There's positives and negatives when you take a look at every single tag and you consider every single color. I think if I had to rank the color options, I would say blue would be my first pick for this cell. Green actually would probably be number 2, and it's not, kind of pains me to say that because green is so strong right now. If they make the cell green, I think green does undoubtedly overtake yellow as the best color in the game. I think it probably already is the best color in the game, but that's mostly just because purple's pretty weak. I think red would be my 3rd pick, purple would be my 4th pick, and then yellow is probably last. I really don't want to see this cell be yellow. That would just be kind of annoying, right? How many yellow ultra characters are we going to get that are just like dominating the game? I think it's time we moved on from that. So those are the rankings I think I would give to the color for Cell. The next thing I want to quickly talk about is going to be his Ultra ability. And again, I will just point to the fact that we are getting a unique equip for Android 17 who just simply does not fit in this campaign, but they're kind of just forcing him to get a unique equip in here, and that is very obviously to get Cell a better setup for androids. So I think I would pretty comfortably say his Ultra ability will probably be androids. If it's not androids, then I think it probably would just be Powerful Opponent, because it's the easiest one to get fulfilled just due to how many characters are on the tag. But if I had to say his Ultra ability, I'd probably say androids and then Powerful Opponent. If it's not either of those, I guess would they would they even think about doing Cell Saga? You know, to be fair, Cell Saga is not a terrible team, actually. Because if you go to Cell Saga, I actually did my God rank grind with Cell Saga this last season. You could do a team of like Ultra Cell Leader, Ultra Gohan, Super Trunks. That's not a bad team, probably. Because you have a lot of strong equips for Cell Saga now. You could throw Super Saiyan Goku on there somewhere. You could have like a little bit of a Proud team going there too. Cell Saga could be interesting. I don't know if they're going to make his Ultra ability Cell Saga, but it would, you know, it would be much better off if it was just androids or Powerful Opponent, I think. Okay, so now we can start talking, I think, a little bit about some of the abilities I'd want to see out of Cell. I think the best way to do this, I have Beast pulled up here because this is the last Ultra character that dropped. You know what I think would be a good way to do this, actually? Let me pull up Majin Vegeta as well, just so that we can see kind of what the difference is between the most recent two Ultra characters. So Majin Vegeta, here's like his base stats. And then here's Beast Gohan's base stats. Do we think they're going to like increase the base damage here from 200 to something like 220? Maybe. I think it's possible. I think I talked about this in a previous video, but something I'd want to see here with the battle system change, this is now, I think, more relevant than ever. I think people are just becoming even more and more fed up with AOE Green cards. But actually pulling up Vegito Blue here, this Vegito has a very interesting ability that I think they could actually model a lot of future character abilities off of. And that ability is this right here. I think it's in the first one. Yeah, here. The following effects occur when enemy activates auto counter or evade action while this character is not defeated activates once. So my idea for what they could do for Cell is they could give him like the exact same mechanic as this, but instead of evade actions, they could make it for AOE Green cards. And instead of it activating once, I think they can make it activate 3 times. So if any character on your team gets hit by an AOE Green card, I think they could end up not like nullifying it, but just making a having the opponent who used the AOE Green card have some negative effect applied to them. So maybe Cell will increase his own unique gauge charge rate if he gets hit by an AOE Green card, or anybody on his team gets hit by an AOE Green card. Maybe he reduces enemy ki by 100. Maybe he is destroying the entire enemy's hand or something. But just some way to counteract the effects of AOE Green cards. I think a lot of people would probably be in agreement that it is one of the bigger issues in the game right now. And it is, to me personally, it is a little bit crazy that we've gone now 6.5 years, and the only sort of counter mechanic they have in play for AOE Greens is a one-time nullification on certain characters. It is honestly pretty egregious. That's all they've managed to implement into the game to counteract the annoying AOE Green card mechanic. But this is something that I've thought of that I think could be pretty positive. And something they could also do as well is they could just have it be like, what if it was a shared activation with the auto counter or evade action gauge? Like, so it would be the same thing as this. So the following effects occur when enemy activates auto counter or evade action, or what's the specific wording they use for AOE Greens again? I think it's like wide range green or something. The character let's find a character. This future Gohan's immune to it. Let's see. Yeah, nullifies enemies' wide range special arts attacks. Okay, so but I don't think they would nullify it. It would be following effects occur when enemy activates auto counter or evade action, or when an ally character is hit by a wide range special arts while this character is not defeated, activates 3 times. That's what I would do for this. And that would, I think, give Cell a lot of value, because it would add a lot of supporting capabilities to the character. Even when he's not on the battlefield, he's still helping your allies not get trapped and just slaughtered by AoE Greens, which everybody just kind of tends to hate nowadays. So that's something I'm looking forward to, seeing if they want to do that. Something else I think they could really do with the cell actually too is they tried this with Broly, red transforming Broly. I keep pulling up a billion tabs, but it's easier this way. Not Ultra Broly, transforming red Broly. Where is transforming red Broly? Is right here. So they did this with UI Goku, and then they tried this with LF Broly. Where is it here? Is this it? It performed against this character, striker, blast, or attack, nullifies enemy, cover change. Yeah, this is it right here. If performed against this character, striker, blast, or attack. So basically, it's the anti-cover change mechanic. And the reason why I have this in here is because I think his animation. So when we're talking about perfect Cell, not perfect form Cell, the post self-destruction version of Cell. Remember, we don't really have many animations for him. He doesn't really fight. All that perfect Cell does is he backhands Vegeta and then goes for like the, I don't even know. It's the Revival Cell's blue card. Pull this up too, I guess. Let's just type Cell in here. Oops. It's this Cell, this transformed Cell. It's this guy's blue card. That's like the only attack the Cell does besides the Solar Kamehameha. Right, the Cell backhands Vegeta. What is this called? Hits him with the Hell Strike, and then just does the Beam Clash with Gohan. So we don't really have a lot of animations for just perfect Cell. So they're probably going to be taking a lot of animations from perfect form Cell. But I think something they could do for this character that does fit the theme of the unit is to give him an anti-cover change mechanic, and it would be the animation of him like coming out of the smoke. Remember when Vegeta does the Vegeta technique? And then he just like he just like blasts all those key blasts into Cell, and then there's the smoke, and then he thinks he beat him, and then Cell just pops out and backhands him. That I could see that animation being the anti-cover change animation. So like you see a character trying to cover change with whoever your opponent is switched in with currently, and then Cell just pops out and backhands them away. I could see that being a thing. So that's, I think, something that it's not that I'm in love with the mechanic, but I just think they didn't do the mechanic justice with Broly, and I think they could redo it with the Cell and it would fit him much more effectively. Something else I'd want to see, and I don't really like the design of this character, but something that I do like a lot. Where's Goku? This Goku, and something that Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks also has the same thing of is the effects that they have on their arts cards. Restores Vanish engaged by 10% upon activation. Goku has the same exact thing. And the reason why I actually... Wait, this is the wrong character? This is Majin Vegeta. Goku's here. 10% to Vanish engaged upon activation, 10% Vanish engaged upon activation, and then Gotenks says the same thing. And the reason why I like this, I actually did a video recently, I think it dropped yesterday or the day before, depending on when this video goes up. It was me and Ryuden testing different interactions in PvP based off of the new 2.7 battle system. And something that we realized is if you're a character that restores Vanish engage on Strike card, in particular, I mean Blast card too, but in this instance, Strike card, if you're back floating from mid-range to long range and the opponent goes for a tackle and you go for a strike card to counter their tackle, normally you would be caught, right? If your opponent goes for a tackle, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe this unless I show you. If your opponent goes for a tackle and you're back floating from mid-range to long range, remember, you now lose your Vanish when you're back floating. If you strike to counter their tackle and they vanish out of their tackle, you have no Vanish. So they have essentially a free combo on you. So it makes it a lot tougher to react to that and to counter their tackle. But if you're a character that restores Vanish when you use a strike card, you still have your Vanish after using this because it's going to restore the little bit of Vanish that you lose from back floating from mid-range. So I think having I would not be surprised if they do decide to keep this battle system the way that it currently is in the game. They might start giving more Vanish restoration effects on strike cards to characters just so that they can have that be an option, which I think is good. I think being punished for back floating from mid to long range because you correctly countered your opponent's tackle, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think if they release more characters that have Vanish Restoration on strike cards, just simply to be able to, you know, actually be able to fight back against that, I'd be okay with that. So that's something I'd want to see here. Something that I've been thinking of too, if I think a big issue with the battle system change is they make pretty good points about, okay, yeah, this is, you know, we would like for people to be more aggressive. We're trying to promote more aggressive gameplay, more proactive gameplay. This is a Dragon Ball game. It shouldn't be about waiting. I think everybody's on board with that, and I think everybody wants to see that as well. I don't think anybody is opposed to the game being more proactive and action-filled. The problem, though, is a lot of... It's not just the battle system itself, but a lot of character mechanics promote passive gameplay. And so I think a way that they could actually go about promoting more aggressive and proactive gameplay instead of reactive gameplay is by giving characters certain abilities, certain mechanics that punish your opponent for being passive, but also reward you for being proactive. And so I think a good way to do this, and we have seen this a little bit for some characters, like, the enemy loses, you know, a card for vanishing or something. Something they could do, and if they really wanted to be pretty aggressive with the stance on this, is what about a mechanic that destroys 3 enemy cards when the enemy vanishes one of your attacks? That would be pretty punishing. And that would really incentivize you to be the aggressor. If you are going to be gaining an overwhelming advantage on your opponent because you forced them to vanish one of your attacks because you took the initiative to attack them, that could be a pretty strong mechanic. Now, granted, there are a lot of characters these days that have card destruction immunity. So, I mean, I don't know if I want to go through every single character that has it now, but Majin Vegeta with his green card buff is immune to card destruction. Turles with his comeback buff is immune to card destruction. Beast Gohan, when he enters the battlefield, is immune to card destruction. Who else is immune to card destruction? 17 with his green card is immune to it. And I think Daima Goku on entry is immune to it. So there are a lot of characters. Vegito Blue with his like gauge up thing. There are a lot of characters that are immune to card destruction, but it still, I think, would be pretty effective if they did that. So if they want to, again, keep promoting proactive and aggressive playstyles, then they can't just change the battle system. I think they also have to sort of weave those abilities into the character abilities themselves, the character's mechanics themselves, to, I guess, they want you to use characters in a way that makes the game more fun and interactive. But they can't only center that around the battle system itself. Because if you're going to give like a perfect example of this is Ultra Gohan, Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Like, they say they want to make the game more proactive and more aggressive, but if you give characters AOE greens and counter blues and auto counter gauges, what do you think's going to happen? You think you're going to be more proactive and aggressive? Hell no. So they have to actually promote that by giving characters mechanics that reward the user, reward the player for being aggressive. That's what they should do. Okay. And I have a few notes here. I think something they could do as well is, I think it is really important that they have, especially an Ultra character, typically when it comes to LFs, there are certain hit or miss characters. We get, typically I would say they do a good job with LF character designs, but there are some LFs that, without naming names, definitely were not as good as they should have been on release. But when it comes to Ultras, that's really not the case. And I think they actually give Ultra characters a lot of times more cushion than they need, just to ensure that they are at the very, very top of the list in terms of competitiveness with the rest of the game. So like, you could take a look at every single summonable Ultra that's ever released in this game, and I don't think there's any single character that's dropped that wasn't considered like a top tier contending character. If not like just straight up best unit in the game, they were probably at least, like every single Ultra probably at least was a top 3 character when they dropped. So they very clearly do this on purpose. They want to make sure that they're dropping like the very best of the best with these Ultra characters. And typically what that means is they have a lot of the mechanics that make characters good, like double card dress speed, cover null, easy access to cover null, second life mechanics, buff removal, endurance nullification on their rush, endurance nullification on main ability, stuff like that. Like there are a very few top tier mechanics in the game that you kind of need to give to Ultra characters in order to make sure that they're like at the top of the list. So I think something that they could do for Cell is instead of just giving him Like, oh, let's just give him buff removal and let's just give him endurance at the beginning of the fight, and he's removing buffs and he's reducing sub count and all these things. They could have him have, I think, maybe giving him like a defensive unique gauge that fills up, and then once it's filled up, it could give him indestructible for the rest of the fight. So once he gets the unique gauge filled up, maybe once he takes a certain amount of hits, he fills up his defensive unique gauge, and at that point he would have access to indestructible. And then maybe when he has his indestructible activated, he then has other effects pop off too, like maybe he supports the team, maybe he gets permanent double card draw speed, maybe he has endurance nullification. I think maybe not just giving him everything for free at the beginning of the fight is better than just doing that, right? I think Turles, something they did pretty well with Turles here is they gave him an insane comeback mechanic, but a lot of his damage and a lot of like these ridiculous effects are tied to his comeback actually activating. So at the beginning of the fight, Turles is really not super scary offensively, but once you've popped his comeback and he eats the fruit of the tree of might, at that point he becomes pretty terrifying. So that's, I think, actually a pretty good design. I mean, I don't know if I'd call the actual comeback effect a good design because this is ridiculous still, but I think the fact that they didn't just give Turles at the start of the fight like a billion different mechanics, I think is fine. And the last thing I want to mention real quick before we end, this has actually been going on for a little longer than I was thinking. One mechanic that has become very, very important has to do with attribute downgrade nullification. If we take a look at pretty much every single meta character right now, one of the things we take a look at the very onset of evaluating how good a character is do they have access to attribute downgrade nullification? Do they have access to ways to clear debuffs, or are they just straight up immune to debuffs? And a classic example of this, at this point we could say is the classic example, is Gotenks just being nullifying attribute downgrades at normal conditions for the first 100 timer counts. And the reason why is mostly because of Beast. Beast Gohan stacking cost increase on every single arts card every time he gets hit. That's a team-wide debuff. So if you're a character like Gotenks, who just straight up has immunity to those things, even if you're attacking Beast with a character like Mai, for example, the entire rest of your team is going to be afflicted by those debuffs, and it's going to continue to stack up every time Mai uses an arts card on Beast Gohan. But Gotenks being immune to it, you can swap into him mid combo, and you'll notice he doesn't have any higher arts costs than he normally would because he's not affected by the debuffs. I think what they could do for Cell, again, I'll make the same comment I made when I was talking about Fusions of Asu. I think it is a mistake to just give immunity to debuffs to characters. That, I think, is one of the biggest issues with this character, and I think at this point most people would agree with me that this is one of the more annoying units in the game. This guy goes Super Saiyan 3, and at that point he's got Cover Null, he is debuffing health restoration, he's nullifying attribute downgrades in normal conditions for 100 timer counts after transforming, type neutral defensively. Like, this character, essentially what happens is you transform into Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and the only real way of actually stopping this character from comboing you is by using an auto counter gauge. That's really the only way you can stop this character, and it mostly is because of this. Right, Beast Gohan's cost stacking doesn't affect him. Key reduction also could affect this character too, I think, but this is like the real, like, this would be the real way to stop him, but he unfortunately is immune to attribute downgrades in normal conditions. He's got double card draw speed, he's drawing cards when he uses cards. Like, this is a character that shouldn't be designed in the way that he is. So I think a better and healthier way to do this is, instead of just giving characters attribute downgrade immunity, is to give them mechanics and give them ways to clear debuffs. And I was thinking about the best way to do this, and it would, at the end of the day, mostly just depend on how they want to design Cell as a character. But an interesting way I think they could do it, actually, is if we go search Kid Buu, Blue Kid Buu, and it's actually a UI Goku mechanic as well. Blue Kid Buu, the following effects occur every 4 timer counts while this character's in the battlefield. Restores ki by 30, inflicts enemy that should downgrade plus 20% damage received. So basically, every 4 timer counts that pass while this character's in the battlefield, he is just passively getting 30 ki. I think a way they could do something like this with Cell is, what if every 5 timer counts, Ultra Cell just cancels his own attribute downgrades under normal conditions? So what that would mean is he would be comboing Beast Gohan. I mean, let me just go back to the top here. He would be let's just say, for example, he was comboing Beast Gohan. Now, he wouldn't be immune to the debuffs, so they'd still be applied to him. Where's the annoying thing? So, inflicts all enemies with attribute downgrade plus 10 to all arts costs for 5 counts. So, Cell would be comboing Beast Gohan, and he would be getting this debuff stacked up on himself. But, I mean, every, 3 arts cards or so? It would be every 5 timer counts that pass. The debuffs would reset. And obviously this would need to be tested, so I don't know if it would be 5. Maybe it would be 4 counts. Maybe it would be every 3 counts. But he could have a mechanic where every X amount of timer counts that passed when on the battlefield, he just completely removed all of his own attribute downgrades in normal conditions. Not immunity, but after a certain amount of timer counts, he removes them. That, I think, is a better way to design that, as opposed to just being immune completely, because being immune completely is just, I mean, it just removes the entire purpose of debuffs in the game existing in the first place, which makes no sense to me. So those are kind of the mechanics I'm looking forward to seeing they do with Cell. I think Cell probably will have some new mechanics, like brand new abilities, right? When we typically get Ultra characters, they're not every time, but a lot of times there are new mechanics introduced. So hopefully they decide to take a few risks with Cell. Hopefully don't go too overboard with him. But let me know down below what you guys would like to see for an Ultra Cell release. Looking forward to seeing how they handle him, and when his details are out, we will, of course, be doing a breakdown video for him. He is releasing on March 5th, so a few days from now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.